We go now to former Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin, two-term governor of Wisconsin. He just had to go through a self-quarantine himself. We're glad to see that you appear healthy, sir. Okay, great. So you were one of those guys at CPAC, right?
Right. Yeah, I saw the patient that everyone's been talking about there. And so I self-quarantined about a week and a half ago after finding out, a few days after he found out. The good news is my wife and I and our family are safe and sound, but it does just magnify to us personally, as it has to so many others, what a serious crisis this is.
And when you quarantine, by the way, you really have to emphasize that nobody can come in. You can't go out, but nobody can come in. And even if a family member, I'm curious, was your entire family there, or were you able to keep some family out?
No, you make a great point. I was the only one there. Both my kids are adults. They live nearby, but they didn't come here. My wife had actually been in Florida, and she came back and stayed for the rest of that next week with my adult children, not too far from here. And so nobody came by. They left some food by the door. Didn't even greet them at the door. I actually put a mask on and gloves on to get the food that was outside my door so as not to pass on to anyone anywhere nearby. Very, very serious. And I would stress, I mentioned my kids, this is one of the things that drives me crazy when I see these images of young people out on the beaches or at the bars, particularly after people like your previous guest have been working so hard to try and help people who are suffering from coronavirus and other ailments, to think of young people out there not following the guidance that our president and so many others are talking about.
Yeah, young people are not invulnerable to this. All of what you said makes sense, except for the part where you said you have adult children. That's hard to believe. You look like, I know I know how old you are, and it's still hard to believe. Governor, you're no longer governor, but you got a big future in politics. We'll talk about the presidential run in a moment, but you were a governor for 2 terms. And we heard from actually Ray Kelly a few moments ago that there's kind of a misperception here that all the clout, all of the power is with the federal government. He's saying they can move resources, but the operational decision-making is up to guys like you.
It's governors and mayors. I was a local leader before I was governor. We're the ones right on the ground, as the commissioner knows, as you know, your father knows well. When you think of 9/11, when you think of Rudy Giuliani and the NYPD and the fire department, everybody else, those are the people who can marshal the resources. Governors can get it done with the National Guard and provide assistance. We've got to have all hands on deck. And we see this. At this point, it doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican. Governors, mayors, leaders across the nation need to stand up and not just rely on what the president and the Congress are talking about. It's great. I love it every time Dr. Fauci comes on. The bottom line is we need to be listening to people at the local and state level as well. And we need to be working together, because we can stop the curve that your previous guest just talked about, but we've got to listen to what people are telling us and not go out. If you don't have a reason to go out, don't go out, no matter what age, no matter what your health. Don't go out and spread the virus.
Finally, I do want to ask you ran for president in 2015 into 2016. It didn't work out, but you were on stage with President Trump in those debates. And I'm just kind of curious what that was like. I mean, let's face it, he did not play by, well, he played by a whole new set of rules that only he knew about.
His rules, nobody else. But let's face it, this guy is strong. He's determined. He doesn't back down. That's what made him such a formidable force on the debate stage as well as in the campaign. I think that's exactly what we need right now, is somebody who's not going to back down, who doesn't back away from a challenge. He's going to be a fighter like he's been his entire life, and he's going to fight to make sure that everybody gets the resources, the state, the local level, the American people are taken care of. We got to do this together, though. He can't just do it himself. And then I think once this is all over, once things get somewhat back to normal, I don't know they'll ever be totally normal. This is a guy who's going to be a fighter, and he's proven he can get our economy back on track and move America in the right direction. We're going to need even more help. I think in many ways, this is certainly bigger than 2008. And in some ways, from a national impact, it's just bigger than even what 9/11 was like.
Governor Scott Walker, 2 terms as it's amazing. You already have 2 terms as governor under your belt, and you're still a young man. So it's going to be interesting to see what the future holds for you, Governor Scott Walker. Everybody, thank you very much.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing news channel, now in 65 million homes. Get Newsmax TV on all the major cable systems, or go to newsmaxtv.com and click on the Find Newsmax tab to locate us. Remember, Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.